All right, we are back. What is up, guys? It is me, Heidi Powell, here another week, another video. Today we are gonna talk about something called intuitive eating. I actually get so many questions about nutrition. Like, actually a lot of people, I just did a random Q&A the other day, and I think more questions had to do with what I eat every single day. People wanting to know my calorie count, my macro count, where am I at? So here's the deal, guys. Actually, since I competed last, which was September 2018, and if you don't know, when I say competed, I actually am a bikini competitor. I'm an IFBB pro, and I've been doing that for about 4 years, but it's been about a year and a half since I competed. Actually, I guess it's been about four and a half, 5 years. I left stage, and I have not tracked my macros since. True story. And I do stay relatively lean and full because I spent so long tracking my macros. I spent so long knowing exactly what was going in my body and having to eat enough food to build the muscle and maintain the fullness that I needed. Years, literally 3 years tracking my macros every single day. I think I developed I wasn't gonna say an eating disorder, no, but I did have an eating disorder in the past. I developed a sense of power and knowledge. Like, I know now just by feeling what my body needs to not just survive, but to thrive. So I actually think, I've never really done a ton of research on the topic of intuitive eating, but I do believe that the way that I eat now is what most people would consider intuitive eating. I listen to my body, I know exactly what my body needs now, and then I eat according to what it tells me that I need. Now, there are a few things that I still do every single meal. Every meal, without fail, I still eat protein. That is number one, a must for me, because my body needs sufficient protein. Our bodies are made of protein. I know we've talked about it before. If you're not getting enough protein, chances are you're not gonna be able to build the muscle, maintain the muscle that you need. So that is first and foremost. The second thing, I make sure to consume enough calories. So I go by the train of thought, totally contrary to what most people think. I would rather err on the side of too many calories as opposed to too few calories, because here's what happens. I spent 12 years with a really severe eating disorder. I also then jumped in after that, so that was until about 26 years old. I jumped in after that and obviously was doing extreme weight loss with Chris, where people were on the opposite end of the spectrum. They were consuming too many calories, and what we did is we put them on a restrictive diet and realized very quickly that if we fed them too few calories for too long, their bodies got used to it. It got used to that low deficit, it crashed their metabolism. And so we were constantly, for season one, trying to rev people's metabolisms back up. Now, I learned there's such a beauty to eating too many calories or eating enough calories. When you are eating enough calories, or even sometimes a surplus, you are able to rev up your metabolism. You can burn calories a lot faster as soon as you drop it back down. So I do eat too many calories. If in doubt, I'm gonna eat the extra marshmallow dream bar at night, and I'm gonna pair it with a protein shake. That much I can tell you. Is intuitive eating right for you? That's a really good question. So one thing I will say about nutrition too is different strokes for different folks. Like, what works for me may or may not work for you. So I will say what was really great for me is I started off carb cycling. I loved it. I loved carb cycling because I had such a phobia of carbohydrates in my past life. Coming off of my eating disorder, I then met Chris shortly thereafter, and I was scared of food. I was scared of calories. I was specifically and especially scared of carbohydrates because we've been told by the world that carbs are bad for us, and I'm here to tell you they are not bad for you. It all depends on your body type, but it is amazing, and it's so nice to know that I can eat carbs one day and then I can go back to the comfort, low carb another day. Carbs one day, no carbs the next day. Carbs the next day, no carbs the next day. So being able to alternate on and off gave me a sense of control over the carbs that I was putting on my body. I actually learned that my body loved carbohydrates, and I learned that I can control not only how much muscle growth I can have from there, but also the leanness of my body from there. From following a strict carb cycling plan, I then transitioned over to, because what I didn't like about it, I'll tell you this, I still felt a sense of deprivation. So anytime I follow a plan, this is me, this is my own personality. When I follow a plan, something like within guidelines and rules in a box, I feel deprived. And when I personally feel deprived, I am kind of plagued with thoughts of my past, and I'm triggered to those behaviors when I feel like, if you tell me, Heidi Powell, I can't have something, the only thing in the world that I want is that one thing. Then I learned the beauty of something called macro counting, and it really did change my life. So macro counting, and you would want a professional to set this up. There are plenty of great macro calculators online where you can enter your age, height, weight, gender, all that kind of stuff. In fact, we have a really, really, really incredible one inside of our Transform app. I'm gonna go ahead and put a link below to this, or you can just search it on the Google Play or Apple Store. It's Transform with Chris and Heidi. But look it up, there is a really great macro calculator in there. So you're gonna enter all that stuff. It's gonna figure out who you are, and then it's gonna spit out, okay, I want you to eat, 120 grams of protein, 250 grams of carbs per day, and 60 grams of fat. So once you have those specific macronutrients that you know your body is supposed to eat every single day, and sometimes you have a high carb day, sometimes you have a low carb day, I just picked a set of macros and I ate that every single day for starter. I entered it into, at the time, it was MyFitnessPal. Now inside of our Transform app, we have a place where you can enter your macros, and then it's essentially like a macro bank. So it's like you're checking out your bank account 5 times a day, right? So every single day you open up this macro bank and you see, okay, I'm starting the day, I have 120 grams of protein today that I can eat, I have 250 grams of carbs, and I have 60 grams of fat. Okay, what do I want for breakfast? You literally get to build your day. So then I would go, I'm gonna start with a protein shake, which is gonna be about 20 grams of protein and a few incidental carbs, maybe a gram of fat. And then I'm gonna have a marshmallow dream bar, which I understand has 43 grams of carbs, it has 5 grams of fat, and it has a gram of protein. So then I went into my macro bank, my little ledger, which was MyFitnessPal at the time, or you can do it in the Transform app. I would enter those foods. And so then it would say, all right, Heidi, you just ate 21 grams of protein, you ate 45 grams of carbs, and you ate 6 grams of fat. So now you have left, it tells you, you have left, what would that be? 99 grams of protein, you have left 205 grams of carbs, and you have left 54 grams of fat. So then I'm like, oh my gosh, so I just ate that meal. It's telling me what I have left for the day. So I'd wait a few hours and then I'd be like, okay, what do I want for lunch? Do I want a grilled chicken salad? Do I want a egg McMuffin? What do I want? So when you eat that next food, you then go and you enter into your macro bank or your ledger, and it deducts the proteins, carbs, and fats that you just ate at that meal. And what you can do is you learn over time. If I want to fit a donut in, I know a donut has a particular donut that I was loving at the time when I started this, had 18 grams of fat, and I believe it had 56 grams of carbs. And so I knew, and then obviously a couple of grams of incidental protein, I knew I just needed to make sure that it fit inside of my macro bank or my macro ledger, and I could fit that donut into my plan every single day if I wanted. And I kid you not, the results were incredible. Now, one thing I do want to say, if you are macro counting, and really any plan for that matter, I am a huge believer in indulgence, making sure you have the foods that you love when you want them, in moderation. But I'm also a huge believer in the 80-20 rule. I want you to eat 80%, or what works for me is 80% real whole natural foods, 20% the foods that you love and enjoy so you never feel deprived. It has saved me. It has saved me from going back to my old patterns where I feel like I need to restrict food and then binge and restrict and binge. And with me, binging would also come with purging, and without going too far into it, it did wreak havoc on my teeth and my esophagus. It was a battle that I had for a long time, and I just coming from someone with a past eating disorder. Now ask your doctor if you're working with somebody and you've been there too. But I do feel like macro counting was a door. It was almost like a gateway to freedom for me. And so now I've kind of entered on this intuitive eating path, and I love it. I'm not scared if I feel like my body's getting a little bit soft one week or for a month. I don't care anymore. I used to have so much fear if I felt like my muscles weren't popping through or I felt a little jiggle, but now I have such an understanding of what specific foods do for my body and what specific macronutrients do for my body, that the intuitive eating and allowing my body to kind of gauge when I'm hungry and what I need to eat has been absolutely amazing for me. And I can feel when I start getting flat, meaning like my muscles kind of start going down and I start looking skinnier or maybe feeling flabbier. To me, I understand, okay, my body needs more calories. If I want to feel fuller muscles and I want to feel leaner and tighter, I know I need to beef up my amount of carbs and maybe lower my fat a little bit. So over time, you really do become a professional of your own body. So I'm gonna go ahead down below. I'm gonna include a couple links to some blogs that I have. I have some really great ones on macro counting. I'm also going to include some amazing ones to intuitive eating that I just found. I wanted to make sure you have more resources, but I hope this helps. If you guys have any more questions at all, feel free, ask below. There we go, ask below. I'm just kidding. And then I will be back. Make sure you subscribe. Love you guys. Thanks for being here. Mwah.